Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all to the Like That podcast, episode 32, with myself, Nico, alongside Brooklyn. No Nick today. Brooklyn, how you been?
Tired, a couple of episodes without me, and then mainly because I've been finishing the finals for school, so it's been a hell of a grind. Um, 3.5 GPA for my first quarter. So, what is
Okay,
that?
smarty pants.
Summa cum lord.
It's.
um,
Yeah, keep going. I got an off-topic thing, but
but other than that, I mean, that's really been a majority of it. I mean, just a lot of work, and then finally now for the next week and a half, I get a break before I'm right back at it again. But nice to be back and talking about sports for once.
yeah, you're not worried about like business classes and all that. You get to talk about the NBA playoffs. You get to talk about what might happen in the finals, and give our predictions on maybe like some futures bets. I don't know. That's something that I was entertaining. My week's. I mean, I'm not tired, but I think chaos is a good way to describe me. Like, I've got probably about 70% of what's to my name in a box right now. It's the yeah, all the cool
Gonna
clothes.
elaborate on that. Everyone's gonna think that you're like either not able to make rent or you're getting kicked out.
I got a new job. Gonna be moving out of Connecticut. Very crazy thing to say that I'm gonna be a New Yorker. I'm not close to New York City, but to
You
say
hate that.
it's a weird. Yeah, I don't like New York being attached to my name, man. I think that's a little weird. But yeah, you see the walls are empty, and while all of this is going on, and I wish Nick was here to talk about this as well. Nick and I got invited to a dynasty startup league, and I said I wasn't going to do any more leagues. Like I thought I was set with like my four dynasties, but the guy that hit me up is somebody that I've wanted to be in a league with for a while, and he told me that the other 10 dudes in this league are just as psychotic about fantasy football as I am. And we started this draft last Friday, so we're 5 days in. We're in round 9 of 35, and I've seen some crazy stuff happen in this draft already because you can make trade. Like, guys are. There's probably been. Again, we're 9 rounds in with 12 teams. There's probably been at least two trades per round of guys just like moving around the draft board. The craziest one that I saw was before the draft even started, like before you even have a roster to your name to look at, somebody traded two future first round picks, their 27 and their 2028, to get the eighth overall pick in the draft. So, and the flip side of it, somebody before they even made a pick in this league said, you know what? I don't even need to make a first round pick. Like, I'll just take the two future firsts, and I guess I'll tank early on. Um, so it's been nuts. My roster, I can't say I love it. I can't say I hate it. I've been picking out of the 1-9. I've made a few trade ups. I've made a few trade downs. But I currently sit with, in order of like players that I've taken, I've got JSN, Joe Burrow, Carnell Tate, George Pickens. I have to look around the board to see where all my guys are here. Casey Conception, sorry, Chuba Hubbard, and then I got Dak as well. It's a super flex league. So I like my team, but there's definitely been some guys that I've missed on. Like one guy I forgot to mention, Kyron Williams. I didn't get his backup. But I absolutely love this, man. Like every time I'm on the clock, I have like three random people in this group chat. They're like texting me privately, being like, "Hey, what do you want for this pick?" I feel like a GM.
I'm not gonna lie, like the fact that you're able to get some of those names in this large of a league is kind of impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted Cam Ward. Like it's nuts the turnaround of my Titans fandom, but I do think this Titans offense is going to take a step forward. So I was like, Cam Ward would be really nice. He goes off the board. Bashal Tootin was somebody that I was really interested in. I think that backfield in Jacksonville kind of looks like it's going to be his. He gets taken, close to like 20 spots above the ADP, which really broke me because I was trying to trade up to get him. But yeah, I mean, over the summer we're gonna really dive into fantasy football because one of my favorite parts of the year is the draft itself. I mean, I don't know how you feel about when you're drafting on Sleeper, ESPN, or Yahoo, but that's one of my favorite days of the fantasy season.
I will say, being a full year down in my first dynasty league, it's a completely different thing. Like versus a redraft. And I just found out like a league that I had with a bunch of my friends from home. They went to Dynasty and they're switching back to redraft, so I'm jumping back in. So, but this is my first year, you know, actually finishing a dynasty and then continuing on with the team. So it's a really weird thing. And approaching like the actual draft itself, like it was hard to like understand like the value of certain things, and in a fantasy football perspective, like how valuable are certain picks. You and I made a trade for, you got my third round or my third pick of the first round, and in a trade where there was a lot being thrown around.
Yeah, I mean, I gave you Trevor Lawrence and a future first. I mean, it wasn't nothing.
Right. We won't talk about what happened with your QB option after that, but
Yeah, no, we love the commish there. But that's a really interesting perspective because I didn't know that is really like you are officially in your first dynasty, because year one it really does just feel like a redraft. Like yeah, you have your draft picks you can trade if you want to like make like dig yourself in a hole come future. But realistically, like most of these teams are on par. But like once you get deep into these dynasty leagues, like I'm in one, we're going into year 7. I'm in another, we're going into year 5. And in those times, I've seen teams completely strip down, tank, sell the house, and then build up a new dynasty.
one of the interesting things that we had was like we added 2 expansion teams, and I don't necessarily know how frequently that happens in some leagues, but that definitely shook things up. Me having to figure out of I mean, we were an 8-person dynasty before, and like obviously teams, everyone's an all-star, right? But once you add 2 more to that equation, I gotta let some like bigger pieces go, and thank God I'm stacked to the brim with running backs. But like it was definitely weird, like having to readjust and think about strategy from a different point of view, because I was already kind of set on this is my team.
Well, yeah, no,
So
I mean, I can tell you that like 95% of the time, you don't have to plan for an expansion. Also, on the flip side of it, I would never join a dynasty league as an expansion team. Like you were starting out with a shittier roster than ever. Like especially like this is like I'm in this league with Brooklyn too, mind you, and this is like we are in our first offseason. So we literally just did this draft last year, and they're like, you know what? Let's bring in 2 more guys instead of just inviting 2 more during the last draft. So like if I was being offered to join an expansion team, and it's like, oh, I'm joining a league that is literally 1 year old, and your roster is just is going to be worse no matter what. Like the 2 expansion teams realistically should be the bottom 2 teams in this league next year, and you willingly paid for that. That's not something that I'm gonna put my money towards. But I guess respect to them filling out the league a little bit more.
The buy-in as an expansion team owner is kind of just kind of funny. It's just it's like you're starting, yeah, like you said, you're starting from the ground up with the scraps of whatever teams are like, I don't want him anymore, and you're kind of forced to make something out of nothing for a bit. So good luck to those 2. I won't name them, but
I forget who was the first guy off the board, but realistically, it was not anybody that's crazy talent. We got to protect. I think it was like 7 or 8 players on our roster. So even getting the 9th best guy on the best team in this league is still comparable to the 8 other teams. Your wide receiver 1 is probably their wide receiver 3.
it wasn't Mendoza, was it?
No, because we did the rookie draft after they came in.
Oh, the expansion draft.
Yeah, I was trying to see. I forget who like were the first few options off the board, but you can't tell me that those are like what you want to build your team around.
I'm gonna go for a
Good time to lag there. See if I can look it up while his Wi-Fi tries to survive.
Oops. Am I back?
Yeah, you are back.
Okay. I think it was Derrick Henry.
Yeah, which like
I think that was.
How is that a good
Am I
pick?
cutting out again?
No, you're good. Oh, maybe you're not. Are you here?
Hello. Hello.
Welcome back.
I think it was Derrick Henry.
I'm scrolling
Was
all
the
the way up
pick?
to look.
Is that something we can find?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it right now.
If the team that I think had the first pick is who I think it is, I think it was Derrick Henry.
Let's.
Of which I play him in the first week.
I gotta keep scrolling. But like even to that same point, if like you join as an expansion team, your first pick, you're like, let me take a really old running back. Like unless he flips him for value, he's not getting anything there.
Right.
So interesting.
Super
moves.
difficult.
Yeah. But
but
let's
fantasy coming up.
yeah, more to talk about in the summer. But let's get to hoops here. So since last we spoke, we haven't really talked much of the second round, which, to be fair, two matchups that really not too much to discuss. I mean, the Knicks just took care of
Really, only
business.
one of them.
Well, I was going to say that. I mean, the two sweeps, not too much to talk about. Knicks take care of business against Philly. Just makes the Celtics look way worse. That the Knicks just did it so easily. And then the Lakers series, you could say, like, yeah, that was a sweep. It doesn't really mean anything. But you have to give credit where I guess credit is due. Like, that Lakers team, I don't really think, like, on paper, I mean, you saw the plus 1,300 odds. It would have been so cool for the LeBron narrative. But in reality, like, exactly what was supposed to happen happened. And yet they were still close at points. You know, the Lakers in game one, I think they had like the turnover battle. Like the Lakers had, I think, more than 10 turnovers than the Thunder. And even then they kept it a close game. But I have to shout out JJ Redick because he was one of the few teams that actually, or head coaches that was like, why don't we just try to double the MVP? You know, let's live with a Lou Dort shot, you know? And granted, you lost all 4 games, but if you watch that game one between Spurs and Thunder, you saw the doubling on Shea. Like it helped out. I mean, didn't you held him with 24? Wasn't really big in OT, and yeah, then you had Wemby just cleaned it up. But those 2 rounds, unless there's anything you want to add, I don't really think there's much to discuss.
Nothing in the not. I mean, those 2 rounds. Like we're not talking like Cleveland Detroit yet.
Yeah, no, that's where I was gonna go next.
Okay.
Because
cool.
talk about Detroit, man. I mean, yeah, you go down 3-1 in the first round. You advance. You almost lose to the 8th seed, which granted that Magic team is an 8 seed in parentheses. And then you go to Cleveland, another game 7, and even for the Cavs at the same point. You know, like this is you played a long series against Toronto, and James Harden really hasn't been a playoff performer, and he still hasn't performed the best, and yet they got through. You know, Cade probably had the worst playoff series out of all these stars, and Jalen Duren right next to him. I mean, the Pistons just did not show up when it mattered most.
I would heavily say that Cade had a bad playoff series in the semis, but Jalen Duren had the most underwhelming playoff run this entire year based off of like what he did in the regular season. It was so pathetic to watch him kind of like regress in a way.
It wasn't just like a normal regression. Like this dude went from like all-star numbers to
he
like
went from all-star
9
to like a
points
backup number. Yeah, and you know, who am I to be talking, right? I'm not some 6'11" NBA center, like, but at the same time, like me watching that from an outside perspective, like, dude, you're setting a standard of how you're supposed to play. And I get it, there's off nights and there's off nights in like the regular season, but like when you're in the playoffs, like, I mean, what you worked 80 plus games just to get here and to not just fight your ass off and try to put up that same production. And I will say, like, Cleveland's got a very weird and special dynamic with their bigs, you know, with Mobley and Allen. But in that series and the whole entire playoffs up to that point for Detroit, it was super underwhelming. And one thing I was really disappointed in was like, Tobias Harris went on a tear for a couple games in the semis, and then in the game 7 puts up a whopping 5 points on no field goals, like literally got that all from the stripe. Yeah, I said it from the start. You know, I thought the Pistons were a little too early. I think in a year, even give them a year, and that's a ton of. It's what they just went through in this last 2 series, both of them going to Game 7. It's a lot of growing pains. But I think Detroit's great from here on out. But I didn't think they had a chance to make it the finals this year.
Well, in Game 6 specifically, Paul Reed, like Jalen Duren was just
he's been sneaky.
Yeah, like
he's been sneaky good.
Jalen Duren was not showing up, and they had to make some type of adjustment. So you have to call on your third string center, Paul Reed, who I'd say is more of just like a big 4 than a true 5. He goes out, gives you in 17 minutes, gave you 17 points, and had a box plus minus of 8. Whereas like Duren, which has not been that guy. And yeah, to your point of like the Pistons are early. Do you think Duren shitting the bed here actually helps their future? Because he's getting paid this offseason. And he went from a one-time All-Star, made the first-time All-Star this year, has a great season, then shits the bed in the biggest playoff series of his career so far, and now he needs a new contract.
I would say from his youth and how much upside he provided in the regular season, like, this is where I'm going to say, like, yes, Detroit was early, but I also think that the growing pains, like all this stuff, like it shapes these players, right? You know, next time they're in the playoffs, and you know, don't like Detroit will be back in the playoffs. Don't like do not like question that. Um, you know, Duran's gonna understand. You know, he's gonna think back to that first time he made it this deep, and you know, I'm sure there's some frustration just overall, and I'm sure he sees the headlines about like how he's underperforming. Um, and it's just you learn from film, you learn from like experience, really, just like how to not let that stuff happen overall, and that's how you kind of progress as a player. And so I think Duran, like, I think he deserves a bag after his regular season performance. I understand that the postseason, some hiccups, but it's a much larger stage, and I'm not surprised that guys around his experience level aren't necessarily blowing us out of the water with that just yet. In a couple of years, I think Duran's great.
Yeah, but I think this playoff series did give Detroit a little bit of a discount. You know, this is something
A
they could hold,
discount and like
and you know, like maybe he's not a super, you know, he's not like getting like a max extension. You know, like they can.
oh, absolutely not a max. And no one on that Pistons team deserves a max. And I mean, obviously, no one deserves a max there other than Cade. But like, I think that's a pretty understandable opinion. Like, Durant does not deserve a max contract by any means. Like right now, his ceiling, in my opinion, is what Cat currently is for the Knicks.
Oh, I mean, very different play styles, I would argue.
Different play styles, but in terms of impact, I think he's got a solid ceiling. I don't know if he is versatile enough to go that much higher.
Here's an article from Heavy.com. Previously, after his standout regular season, there was the assumption that the Pistons would offer him a max contract offer for 5 years and potentially more than $200 million. However, after his showing in the playoffs, concerns have been growing about if Detroit wants to commit that much of their cap space to a player who didn't look like a strong number 2 option next to Cade. They can offer him a maximum of up to 5 years, $239 million, which would be about $41 million a year, 25% of the team's cap. And I don't know if you can do that after putting up 10 points and 8.5 rebounds as the starting center.
I agree. But you also look at the value. You drafted this guy back at the 13th pick in the first round. Like, those lottery picks, and especially like late lottery picks, you don't have tremendous upside value for them unless it's like the greatest draft ever.
I think every draft, every draft, there's a guy that doesn't go top 10 that ends up being like making an All NBA, or I shouldn't say All NBA, but makes an All Star team.
I have, and I still have like very high hopes for Jalen Duren. Like, I think this year was like a big breakthrough year for him to like understand how to be a dominant big, but he hasn't reached this point where he has to like face some of the pressures of like what happens after you don't have another game to play.
$44 million a year, you let him walk. Sign and trade.
I don't think you let him walk.
$44 million a year.
I want to know what the Pistons cap space is. I mean, 44 mil is a stretch.
Well, they don't have
paying him like he's the best player on that team, but
they don't have big salaries outside of Cade. You know, like Tobias Harris, that's going to be a deal that's going to be off the books in a little bit. So you're going to give Jalen Duren, you know, number 2 option money. Is he a number 2 option? If his ceiling is Cat.
Maybe not number 2. I might even, his ceiling might be Cat, but I think he and Walker Kessler are like the same value of player at the moment.
I disagree with that. Unless you're
disagree.
Unless you're what are you, a Mormon? Walker Kessler's cool, but he's not an all-star.
Well, he also had a big injury this year.
That's true. But I mean, Kessler was. I mean, the Jalen Duren jump I think was pretty unexpected. But at the same time, I mean, Kessler just isn't the offensive player that Duren is. You know, like Kessler is just like a very standard, does his job defensively, and you know, it plays a role as a big man. But
in a weird way, I look at Duren the same way.
Like, then he's not 44 million.
I think he's a more dominant upside, but I think like at a current spot, him and like Kessler are not too different.
Yeah, so you're saying that Jalen Duren is like should be getting like 25 mil a season.
Oh yeah, if we're circling back to the 44 mil conversation, no, I don't think he's worth that yet.
So so you're not paying him, so it's a sign and trade, realistically.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But the Pistons, like you said, they're fine. They're like still gonna be they're gonna be around, and they like we've said they have the cap space to necessarily like make a push for a guy. If like Duran's like if Duran's not the guy necessarily, like what about a sign and trade and you talk to Charlotte, you talk to maybe Dallas, try to get some type of value there. But yep, on the Cavs side of things, anything you want to add? I mean, we're talking.
Is there anything I want to add? Dude, I can't even begin. I don't know where to start with the Cavs in one area specifically. And that's the turnover game. And we've seen that, like, not just from a team perspective. Well, I mean, yes, from a team perspective for the last two series now. They've just had issues with ball security, and that happened with Toronto. That happened against Detroit. And we saw it last night. And we're recording this like on Wednesday, right after the Knicks just had that crazy comeback. And the Cavs have just had so many issues taking care of the basketball, and you cannot allow that to happen when it comes to postseason play. Specifically when I'm like looking at what has just been so disappointing about the Cavs, it's James Harden. It's James Harden times 10. Like I'm so it makes me so angry that he has the trade value that people like still think he should have. He's 36 years old. Don't get me wrong, still a scorer, but a shell of whatever he was, even close to MVP level. Last 8 games, that includes last night, averaging over 4.5 turnovers a game. And he's not shooting particularly well either. Like, what, one game he shot over 40%? 40, oh, sorry, 3 games he shot over 40%, but like last night, 5 for 16, 15 points, and then 6 turnovers to go with it, 5 personal fouls. And like, if you didn't watch that game, you're crazy. But, the Cavs were up by about like 20. Cavs were by like almost 20, like going into the fourth quarter, and they choke it. And there's some private things to be said about like the Cavs like actual like offensive flow, with Donovan Mitchell sometimes not getting. I think he needs to have the ball in his hands 95% of the time. But I've just been not impressed with the Cavs' care for the basketball, and specifically James Harden overall, his style and his ability to play right now. If I think if the Cavs end up going home in the conference finals, it's got to be, to me, because James Harden was not pulling the weight of what anyone thought he would be worth.
Okay, damn, get it out, let it out.
Yeah, I don't like James Harden specifically.
I want to. I'm trying to look up some like some team stats here, specifically on turnover.
I mean,
rates.
4.5 turnovers a game, and that was rounding down. 15 points in 42 minutes against the Knicks. A good defensive team. Detroit, a great defensive team, but had 9 points in 36 minutes in a game 7.
The Cavs are the
0 for 6 from 3, 2 for 10 from the field.
The Cavs as a team are averaging just under 17 turnovers a game. That is second behind the Lakers out of the entire playoff series, and out of teams that are left, I mean, the Spurs average 15.3. So it's not like, not a crazy difference. When you look at like
sure by team it's not, but I'm talking by player.
Harden's turnover percentage against the Pistons was 20%. 20% of the time when he had the ball, he would give it to the other team.
Out of 7 games, like obviously you expand that a little bit.
29% from 3, but so Donovan Mitchell 28%. I mean, their true shooting percentages are actually pretty similar. Usage rates are pretty similar.
I think you take Game 7 into account. The Cavs won that by command and fashion, not necessarily thanks to Harden by any means. And with one turnover, it's because he didn't necessarily have the ball in his hands too much.
Yeah, like he had a usage rate of 26%. Donovan Mitchell a usage rate of just under 33, and yet the points per game was 28 to 20. As in like Spida averaged 28, Harden averaged 20, yet the usage rate, 5% difference. I mean, it kind of adds up numbers wise. Like,
well, so we saw some things in that Detroit series where Donovan Mitchell wasn't necessarily as takeover as people would kind of expect, but that obviously it's because you're playing the Cavs. The main focus is to stop Donovan Mitchell, just like how we've seen with SGA. And the Spurs, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I've just been super underwhelmed by Harden's ability to take care of the basketball. I mean, eight turnovers against the Pistons. They lost by almost 20. Sorry, they lost by 21. and also goes in the Cavs in general. If you watch that Knicks game, they were getting the ball ripped from them literally from just standing in a triple threat position. And it's just not stuff that I think in late game basketball, late playoffs basketball, that you can really allow to happen. Max Strus has also looked super sloppy.
But
So
if you're the Cavs, your saving grace is if you make it to a game 7, Jared Allen is on the court. Might be my favorite storyline of this playoffs is Jared Allen. You know, like I think I don't know if it was last year or the year before when we heard the quote that the lights are too bright, and like, oh boy, that stick like that. I don't know, like
that was something that he said, right?
yeah, like he after
Which is
after the
crazy.
Cavs lost, he just said the lights were too bright, which is which again like
It's
that
like genuinely just giving up. Like
he created a meme, like he created a term, and yet this playoff series, game 7 versus the Raptors, 22-19, 3 blocks. Game 7 against the Pistons, 25 minutes, 23-7, 8 for 14. You know, like this Piston series, the bigs kind of just made the difference. You know, like Cade and them is a joke, but like you know the Duran getting shut down by the front court of Cleveland really made the difference. And
I mean, don't sleep on like Sam Merrill. I know it's a weird name to just throw out there.
I was gonna say his
Like, but
his offensive rating. You know, he doesn't play too often, but when he's out there, he can help you score.
you think about that series, and I'm sure you're very very well aware of it. But like that series, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent all started to go off. You know, Sam Merrill reminds me exactly of that type of role right now for the Cavs. It's a guy that you don't expect to necessarily light you up, but he will. So, I, it's weird. This series between the Cavs and the Knicks is very bizarre. I was talking to my dad, and I just kind of I told him, I was like, I think the Cavs are just the kind of the overall better team. I think that the Knicks have been playing very hot, but when it comes to things, I think Cleveland is better all around. And we
I mean,
saw that to a point.
you gotta take game 1. You know
We saw that to a point last night.
we
I
talked
can't
so
and
much.
I can't believe the collapse. Like it genuinely was unfathomable for me to watch them just straight up give up a 20-point lead in
22-point lead. I think 8 minutes left in the game. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it brings an interesting.
Hello.
Oh, did you grab me?
There we go.
Oh, you lost me there. Okay. Saying how you know like you have to win that game. You know you're up 22. And especially being on the road. We've talked so much about how the Knicks again they dominate at home. You steal one of those, it's a whole new ball game. And instead, you take game 1 when it was yours. And you look at the Eastern Conference winner odds. The Knicks are minus 425. Cavs at plus 320. Is there value in taking Cleveland? You just shit on
100%.
You just shit on James Harden and how he's played all playoff series. You talk about how the Knicks have been playing at an insanely efficient rate. I mean, when you're talking about box score plus minus, Cat's leading the league or leading all players in the playoffs. OG's at 3. What else did I have saved? Oh, I might have taken it away. But if you go to the same thing, you want to bring up win shares. You know, 3 out of the top 4: Brunson, OG, Cat. Everything's been working. I mean, Cat and OG have had incredible playoffs so far. I mean, the OG is second behind Isaiah Hartenstein in true shooting percentage, and it's not just a guy taking layups. And you know, Cat right behind him at 3. So yeah, you're saying this Knicks team is peaking at the right time, but how long does this peak last? Like again, you shit on the Cavs, but all of a sudden you like plus 320. I don't see how all of that equals.
I think there's 100% value. There's value in it, right? This is a Cavs team that just knocked off the first seed, you know, in a 7-game series, yes, but and there's a lot of things that like you know people have said like, oh, is there you know a something to consider when it comes to rust of the Knicks who have been resting for a while and the Cavs who are still fresh, but or not fresh, but are coming straight off of a series and not necessarily have had to rest for too long, and like again. That comeback last night is the largest comeback, and Nick said this to me earlier, since I think it was like 78 for the Knicks. Like that comeback was not supposed to happen. And that comeback is not going to happen 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, but you can you can make the same case that this Knicks team doesn't play like that 9 games out of 10.
You
Who
could,
made the mistake
but at
here?
this,
Who made the mistake? Was it the Knicks showing, like, like almost screwing it up at home, or is it the Cavs not being able to close out? And when you're already dogs like that again, you say that this is the biggest deficit they've come back from in over like 40 years, and you're telling me that you can't put blame here on Cleveland?
well, you absolutely can. I mean, the Cleveland did not do a great job like scoring the ball in the fourth quarter, and let alone that like overtime. Donovan Mitchell saw some of the worst usage I've ever seen out of like your number one guy ever. But from a perspective, I think that New York dropped the ball in the terms of the fact that it even had to get to that point. It's one of the best teams record wise playing at home. And the shooting stats, especially from three, were just abysmal the entire night. And both teams ended up shooting around 31, 33ish%. And it just comes from the fact that like I think that the Knicks were yes a little bit rusty and didn't necessarily know what to expect from Cleveland, but also like Cleveland just started to capitalize on the defensive end a little bit more, I think. Um, and and then it also comes from a defensive standpoint. Like the Cavs are not necessarily some insane team defensively. James Harden got taken ISO many times by Brunson last night, and that's something that also like to me like points to like James Harden's kind of a shell of what he used to be. Not even kind of like he is. Um, and it's like that Brunson was just able to ISO him multiple times to just get to wherever he wanted, and that was the entire fourth quarter.
Do the
So both teams
Cavs
dropped the ball.
do the Cavs are the Cavs in this scenario with Darius Garland instead of James Harden?
Weird. Good question. In a weird way, I don't know if the Cavs survived Detroit with Darius Garland.
I was gonna say that too. I think you have to give Harden credit for where Cleveland is now. It's kind
I
of
will
like
give him some credit for being the bigger body and probably the more and yeah, the more experienced player in those
like
situations. And maybe you if you have a 50-50, not 50-50, but a bigger split shot wise between Garland and Mitchell, because we I mean not entirely sure the stats behind it, but you kind of watch their games. Garland and Mitchell would almost just be shooting one after another. um it's a weird thing to debate, but I think Cade probably has an easier time if he's got Garland on him.
see my because it's a funny analogy here. My friend Jamarius that's in our rec league, which if he's listening to this, he might not be too happy with this remark, but you could say like James Harden, like how I say, like yeah, the playoff disasters have been annoying, but at the same time, the heroics from the regular season, being 36 and still putting up close to 25 points per game, like that's not nothing. And like Jamarius on our rec team,
Yeah.
like he is our scorer. Like we've got a couple other guys that could share the rock with him, but most of the time he's getting the most shots up. And we always say Jamarius can shoot us into a game, he can shoot us out of a game. But we could every win that we have, Jamarius probably put up 25 plus. And if it's a close game at the if we lose a game by like 5 or 6, it's because at the end of the night Jamarius couldn't hit the shot. And I don't fault the guy for it, but it's like one of those things, like I think you could say the same about Harden. Without him, they're not going this far, but the Harden experience is, having some shitters, not showing up in big moments.
I can agree with you there. I think without Harden, that there is some things lacking in terms of IQ and just overall probably maybe like veteran leadership on the court there, especially in like these later series moments. But like you just said, like it's been super underwhelming watching the Harden experience play out. Um, and the turnover issues. Like I know you kind of talked about that stat earlier, but like if you watch like some of these games, it's just stupid turnovers. Last night threw one into like the seventh row because he got bopped on the nose a little bit. Wanted to review. It's the second quarter, multiple times. It's just bad. It's just bad passes, and I'm like, there's so much higher expectations at this point, especially in the playoffs. And me speaking from experience, being a former finals winner in my league, like it's just
In
can't
2K
make these
my
mistakes,
league, 2K my league, you gotta
No,
specify
but
that.
but seriously, no, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, my league, yeah, in 2K my league. No, but seriously, at this point in basketball, in this stage, these later stages, like some of the turnovers you saw last night in the Cavs next game were just stupid, stupid passes, stupid ball security. It was just kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, for me, I can't put USD on Cavs at plus 320. I can't. The thing with the Knicks that they showed you all playoff series, which kind of was supposed to be what the Knicks were all year. Is that like, yeah, all five of these guys can go and get you a bucket. And one thing they've been utilizing a lot this playoff series is using Jalen Brunson as the screen guy. They'll either set a double screen or just a single, and it really throws, like most of the time the defenders have to switch on to the guy that's cutting. So it's basically either a free cut to the lane or it's Brunson popping out for a three. And that has been their bread and butter these first two rounds, and it has worked. And we give a lot of shit to Mikal. He's not necessarily had to show up too much.
He's played great recently.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's showing out here on this Knicks team. So it's really hard for me to give a case for Cleveland. Your best shot might have been game one. You look back at like the Lakers Thunder series. Like game one very easily could have been the Lakers, and too many turnovers and a fourth quarter fumble leads to an L. And I think you could look back on this game one for Cleveland, New York, and say the same thing. Like Cleveland almost got a game, but the Knicks realistically take care of business in 5. I think they could sweep.
In 5 is kind of. See, here's where like I understand like a lot of fatigue probably sets in, and understanding like how well like a team might be playing, and then like the fact that the Knicks took the first one at home is great. I just feel like for a team that like the Cavs that's been in multiple game 7s just on the road here, it's a little bit harder to put them away. And at some point, like athletically and then mentally, there's a kind of a fire where you're just like, do we really want to be in that position again? And I overall think that the Cavs skill wise might be better from a 5,
but
you're even just their starting 5.
You're gonna have another game this series where Harden's gonna have a bad shooting night, so you could put more pressure onto Donovan Mitchell, and then what are you doing? You're working through your bigs, like
working through your bigs who are both former All-Stars,
who both have I think that like Mobley's averaging 15 a game. I mean, Allen, he's showed out in those 2 game 7s. But what does Jared Allen do?
I mean, obviously, I think there's much lower ceilings for for Allen than there is Evan Mobley. Like Evan Mobley, you're expecting him to be that point forward role, and Allen, you're expecting him to be that traditional big, and Allen like will get his opportunities. He hasn't shot well from the free throw line, so he's missing like a lot of points just from that end. Evan Mobley, yeah, he's been disappointing in terms of just like sheer volume of points, but I feel like it is a weird dynamic to balance between the shot volume that he is getting. But things just have to click for the Cavs right now. I think that once this series goes back to Cleveland, things absolutely have a chance to flip. And what we just saw from them, like their attempts, even like last night, I know they lost the game, and it's pathetic that they even lost it. But next game's still in MSG, and they were able to do that in MSG in the first game. Not surprised if they can possibly right their wrongs in game 2.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm settled on this, unless you have anything else you want to throw.
Yeah, no, go for it. We're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about this game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals and how the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter were genuinely insane. And meanwhile, the Western Conference Finals game 1 was 10 times better. Like both these games were just like peak cinema. But holy fuck, Wembanyama 3. What? Like talk me through this. Like you're taking that shot for the 2-for-1, right? Like that's the point of it, or you just think that's your best look you're getting?
I think that was a heat check, and a weird heat check. Like your Wembanyama was like, I'm the guy.
That is a.
I think it's a weird heat check where like Wembanyama was like, I'm the guy who should have the ball in the hands at this time of the game. If anyone's hitting this shot, it needs to be me. And from a basketball perspective, it's so weird because sometimes like you might just catch a shot and you're like, I'm pulling it. Like it's a weird like I'm feeling.
God, I wish I had that feeling when I let it fly.
Yeah, me with my professional experience and all, and not going any further than high school. But for me, like you just catch the ball and you're like let it go. But like for Wembanyama, him having that night, like I don't see any reason why. And dude, you want to know the craziest thing is that was his second 3-point attempt from that entire night.
That was his second. I didn't even see that in the
that was his second 3-point attempt the entire night.
Holy shit. I mean, and I don't know if you've seen it on social media, but of course everyone's been talking about, the Curry shot. Yep. Yeah. Like
Curry's was deeper. Curry's was absolutely deeper.
Oh, it was.
And in a different angle.
But still a crazy
I mean,
game.
Wembanyama. Yeah, Wembanyama, with a plus 16, plus minus in a game that ended with the Spurs winning by 7. Fuck, dude, that was insane. I watched the entire second or sorry third and fourth quarter, and even threw a bag on them like late fourth, and watching Wembanyama hit that shot was like another feeling of like holy shit moment
And
that I hadn't experienced in a while.
I mean, one thing, the guy's 22, and he put up 41 and what is it, 41 and 19, I think it was.
41-24.
Oh, even crazier, right? And so it's like he's 22. And then at the same time, you didn't have De'Aaron Fox. You had to look at Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, rookie sophomore backcourt, and the two of them. I mean, what was it? I think Dylan Harper had 7 steals. Stephon Castle double double, and this is the 3 guys where I think Wemby is the oldest at 22, and you just took down the reigning champions that haven't lost a playoff game this series at home, without De'Aaron Fox. So
If you watch the Thunder game, you know that Oklahoma City is a hostile environment.
it was
Like,
ranked as the
obviously,
top.
defending champs. It is a crazy atmosphere to watch. You just watch a game in. And Dylan Harper also had a double double with 24 and 11. Remember, he's a rookie.
And 7
To
steals.
put up that type of performance in the conference finals is insane. Yeah, it is 7 steals and 1 turnover. Stephon Castle had 11 of them.
What?
Stephon Castle had 11 turnovers that game.
Yeah, okay, triple double.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not discrediting like the Spurs played insane and in an absolute grind. Something insane that is Wembanyama had 9 offensive rebounds. The Thunder as a team had 9.
He is an alien. He's the one
And
of
you talk
one.
about second chance points. Second chance points are like what make or what bring or what causes a win or a loss. I was gonna say it's a good mic, but I realized you muted yourself. And the Spurs did everything right. They did their best to shut down SGA. You can't, in the MVP, like he's gonna put up his numbers no matter what. But they did everything right. Chet Holmgren was reduced to Jalen Duren.
So after, I mean, rightfully so.
Alex Caruso dropping 31 though was just something else.
Yeah, somebody was saying he was the best role player of all time, and I was like, okay, we need to settle down there. We love throwing of all time at everybody, but seeing Wemby dominate, and again, being the age of 22, like this question hit me, and I really only think there's one argument you can make, and even then, I don't think you put this player above Wemby. Where if you had a draft of all sports, all athletes. Like who is
all current athletes?
All current athletes, thank you. Like of like we're drafting today. You're resetting the entire sports world. Like who is the first athlete taken off the board? And I think it's Wembanyama at minus 200. Because
it has to be Wemby.
The only other guy that comes in this argument for me is like Shohei Ohtani, because I think you could argue that Wemby and Ohtani are the only 2 guys that truly are one of ones in their league. Nobody can pitch at a Cy Young level and at the same time hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bags. In the NBA, nobody is 7'5", taking, how far away was that shot? Like it was like 30 feet, 30-foot 3.
At least 30.
There's nobody that can. And again, he's 22. Ohtani, I think, is like we're looking at 28. And the league is in trouble, man. This Spurs team they're set up to just be here for a while.
It's so funny to think about the evolution of sports, honestly, like basketball specifically. We went to thinking like, oh my God, Steph Curry is redefining the way people score basketball, to watching LaMelo Ball going from like high school to then like his first year in college and be like, LaMelo Ball, oh my God, he's like 6'8" guard moving like he's what people thought 6'3" was impressive as. And then like LaMelo Ball's shiftiness and being able to shoot came from like what people thought of as Curry. But now you're seeing a guy at 7'4" do all of that. It's insane to watch like development of athletes. Yeah, it's completely unfair. In this debate, I absolutely got to go Victor Wembanyama. Like Ohtani's a master of his craft in both areas, and it's insane. And with him setting his records, like we have like what's the most impressive thing since Ohtani, or sorry, before Ohtani, Mr. Allergies.
Yeah, they're rough. I'm just trying not to sniffle.
In
What do you mean?
the in
What do
the
you mean?
MLB, what was the most impressive thing feature player before Otani put his mark down?
Well, I mean, you saw Judge. Judge hit broke the AL home run record, but not the total home run record in a current season.
Yeah,
That happened pretty recently.
I think Otani's clears that easily.
Well, yeah, I would say that like Otani's like outside of Barry Bonds, like I mean, you saw A-Rod, you saw Aaron Judge, like we've seen Mike Trout, but like Bonds was a dude that was just like on a completely different level. Like
Right.
a Barstool posted a video. They were talking about his peak, and like 2001 to 2004, Barry Bonds got on base, or he either hit a home run or walked 39% of the time. Which in baseball, like think about that. Like a home run or a walk,
ridiculous.
39% of at bats. Like that's
The average, dude, an elite batting average is over 300. Like,
yeah, and like he had an on base percentage one year of like 60%. It was like 60.2. So like yeah, and then Otani comes in, and Otani, can hit. He's not Barry Bonds, but at the same time he is the second best, if not the best hitter in the league, next to Judge. But then can also this year Otani's not having a great start behind the at the plate, but on the mound he has an ERA around 2, and like should be the front runner for the Cy Young right now. But to bring it back to basketball, it's like yeah, like even if Otani's 22 doing this, I think it's a whole nother argument. But Otani got to the league at 27. He was in Japan for a while. Whereas like Wemby is, again, putting up 41 and 24 against the reigning champions. And this dude legally could buy a drink last year. Like, though, I'm not too old, don't get me wrong. But like what I was doing at 22, shit, man. Like,
we're comparing like Wemby to like the rest of the league, and then you're comparing Wemby to yourself at 22. Like,
it's like what was I worried about at 22? I don't like, just making sure I got to work on time, making sure my car's got gas.
Dude, for me at 22, I'm like making sure I can make it to my shitty placeholder job.
And then Wemby's like, oh shit, I gotta go into
I just gotta
OKC.
drill a real quick 30-foot 3-pointer to tie game 1 in the Eastern or the Western Conference Finals. Like, yeah, don't mind me.
And I don't know if you watched Attack on Titan. I've talked about it a bunch, but Wembanyama after the game did do an Attack on Titan celebration. That like if you knew the show, it just is. It
Good
was
for
so
you to
tough.
note that because
So tough.
I wouldn't have pointed that out. My question is there a MLB equivalent to LeBron James?
Like somebody that like when you say like, are you saying like best player of all time? Or are you talking like someone that just like has like was timeless? Because like in baseball, 20-year careers aren't like the like you see a couple guys that
think about LeBron James.
Yeah.
Think about LeBron James, and then think about in the MLB who accolade, achievement wise, winning wise, would you tie most to what LeBron James is in the NBA?
I mean you're asking me who I think the best player is in baseball history.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say Barry Bonds. No, without a doubt.
Okay.
I mean, like people, there are different viewings on Bonds because there are the people that are so anti-steroids that are like, oh, that's
right.
he was cheating. But at the end of the day, like taking steroids means you can hit the ball farther, but that doesn't mean you can barrel up a baseball. That doesn't mean
98-mile-an-hour fastball quicker. Like
yeah, like exactly. Like 98 is still 98, whether or not you got big arms, or you got small arms.
So my follow-up question is, do you think there's a world where you ever compare Shohei Ohtani in terms of greatness to Barry Bonds?
Yeah, I think there is a world. I like Ohtani is not going to have the he's not going to catch up to the all-time walks that Bonds has. He's not going to get a 6,000 OPS or a 60% on base percentage. But Ohtani, if he grabs a couple more MVPs, wins another if he wins a Cy Young, like there's nobody else that you will be able to say that was the best hitter in the league at one point and the best pitcher at one point. Bonds was great, but like he only could impact one side of the game.
So do you think that there's a world where from the end of Wembanyama's career we might be saying he's the best player of all time?
1,000%. 1,000%. What if the Spurs win?
I don't disagree.
What if the Spurs win a ring this year? Like that's very realistic.
I don't disagree.
Like Wemby getting a ring at
it's a crazy track. It's a crazy conversation to start. Being guys who we watched LeBron in his prime and the scariest LeBron. I mean, this is like prime heat when he first went to Miami. I was like maybe 8, 9 years old, and this is one player of my generation. Tell me when you got me. Am I back?
Oh, yeah. Re-say that because you cut out for a second.
It's crazy like watching like I've seen like LeBron go to Miami and watching the best player of my generation, still in my generation, and like maybe a decade and some change later, almost be overwritten.
See,
It's so weird.
you can definitely make the case. Like you're like, yeah, like Wemby winning a ring this year definitely is on GOAT route. But at the same time, I don't want to say we've seen this story before, but like, like
No,
growing up and watching baseball, right? Like, Mike Trout through if you go into like 2017, crazy how much baseball we're talking today, but Trout going like from 2012 to like 2017 was like undeniably the best player in the world, and you were like, wow, like how is like this dude is clearly like he was on pace to retire as one of the best players to ever play the sport, and then exactly like not every guy is going to age the same, and you look at the league itself, like people take greatness for granted a lot. Like if you look around sports,
yeah.
like we've just seen a Patriots dynasty. You saw the Warriors and Cavs go at it consistently for so long, and now you're seeing LeBron literally play with his kid. And so you've seen, and
41
then
years old, doing the stuff he's doing. It's incredible.
and then you look at the Chiefs, like the Chiefs, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, and then immediately, like that. Now that you could argue, like there was a Chiefs dynasty at one point. So like people, like I don't know if you can make this case for every decade, but if you go over the last like
No.
10 years, there have been a lot of crazy sports accolades, and I guess you could say with evolution that's always going to happen. But I think there have been so many crazy things that have happened in the sports world that fans are just numb to this stuff. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you're calling Alex Caruso the best role player of all time. Like people are just they're forgetting. I'm not saying they're airheads, but like yeah, I think it's nuts that like
We got a lot
LeBron
of
is
Gen Alphas coming in here and just talking some nonsense.
like LeBron is
But
42 or 41, sorry, still still giving you near 20 points per game with like 7 assists, 7 rebounds. Still like one of the
still
top
getting his
players in
head
the
almost
league.
over the rim.
And he has his literal son on the roster, nepotism or not. Like a top 20 player in the league is playing with his son. You're not gonna see that. You're never gonna see that. Like what do we like? What do we think? Deuce is gonna show out and Tatum's gonna have a long enough career? Like no, like this is one of those scenarios where people are just they're too busy bitching about the fact that Bronny shouldn't be in the league, but are just like not witnessing what's right in front of them. Like when LeBron retires, the NBA is gonna be depressed.
Oh, dude, a part of me is
Even
gonna
with
die.
Wemby.
But I'm talking about the recency between these names. And I know you mentioned Trout and Otani are kind of like Trout's still very much active, but you think about like Trout was I mean was in maybe the talks of like maybe one of the greatest players ever, but Bonds and Otani, there's a gap. You think about football, who's your best? Tom Brady, and Tom Brady most recently retired, but who knows when we're going to see another quarterback as dominant as that than maybe
Well,
Mahomes right now?
yeah, I was gonna say, like the Wemby hype is legit, but at the same time, when Mahomes was coming off his 5th Super Bowl, you could
Yeah,
have 100% argued he was on GOAT pace.
100%, and yeah, and so that might be another Trout type of headline. And who knows what Mahomes comes back at because he's still got plenty, a good amount of career left in front of him. So football's something to monitor as well in terms of just like talking about like some of the best players of all time. Except there's a lot of old heads who will say Joe Montana is that guy. But then you look at basketball, and I look at a lot of recency between like Bron might retire next year, and then Wemby and give him 5 or 6 years. Maybe 6 years might be really ambitious, but 10 years from now, we're talking about Wemby like, oh my God, you think about what LeBron James did, yet he wasn't gone that long ago.
People, I think also too, are really love to throw out the term generational prospect,
I fully agree.
and if this has
It's
showed you
it's
anything,
bad.
like they're called generational because it's that few.
You're not supposed to see more than one of them.
Yeah, it's not like Cooper Flag was generational, but get ready for DeBanza. He's also generational. It's like no, dude. The dude played college at BYU. Like, like you got a 7'5" Frenchman that shoots better than most people in the league and is 22 years old and is already the best perimeter player or best interior defender in the league. Like, that's generational. LeBron, generational. But like these terms, like, like I remember when Trevor Lawrence was coming out of college, that was a name where everybody's like, this is the guy, like, this is your generational prospect. And like,
he was so impressive, but all the spotlight was on him. But now you look at Trevor Lawrence compared to like guys like Josh Allen, guys like Lamar, like I mean, I don't think Lamar Jackson had as much hype around him as Trevor Lawrence did if you kind of like compare the two.
No, Lamar went 32nd overall. Like, there were half the GMs were wanting him to be a running back.
Exactly.
Like, that was a legit narrative, and like he was coming off a Heisman. Yeah. But yeah, circling this all the way back to basketball here, as now we've been talking for so long, the game has started. Spurs down 1 plus 260 on the money line, depending on how crazy you want to be.
Hammer it. Where are we at right now in this episode?
55 minutes. I was gonna say, unless there's anything else you want to talk about here, we could do that.
We moving on to what I think it's time for.
Let's do it. Yeah, you explain this, by the way. Our last thing.
All right, so we all know about the famous hoop grids and how much of a joy that is to do every day that they refresh. If you didn't know already, the same company that has created hoop grids also has a segment called I Called Game. So essentially what it does is it gives us a slide of pictures and from historical games, and it is up to us to pretty much essentially pin down teams, players, coaches, and get the best score possible. So we're looking at a picture that I think if you look at this, I'd be able to infer what this might have been from. Maybe a famous clip that arose out of this, a famous quote. And it's interesting to say that there's an iconic moment from a game this out of proportion. But
we are looking at before we get into this. This series is very important to me, even though I had no stake in this. Because when I was in college, like again back in the Bricks and Buckets days, my old podcast, we were in Brooklyn, and I were also in a radio class together, and like part of it was like having a podcast. So like we just recorded it in the studio there, and I remember being on there with my two hosts at the time, and I think the craziest take that I had on that show at that point was when this playoff series was going on, or before it started, and I called the Suns frauds. I said they're going to lose to the Mavericks. And I remember I say it outright, and both my two hosts, they take off the headsets, they walk out the room like I just said that like LeBron died or something.
Wasn't one of them Nick?
No, it was Bono and Rob.
Okay.
But that was, granted, like this podcast, we've done pretty well on social media, I would give credit for. And that podcast, we really didn't post much at all, but I posted that clip, and it got like 3,000 views at the time, and I was so pumped. Meanwhile,
3,000 views on Twitter.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I made a remark about Shea that was taken completely out of context, and 26,000 people let me know that 200 comments of people let me know that holy shit, has he never watched basketball?
I think that's better than me making an in context clip of Bo Nix than him just completely proving me wrong.
Hey, if you didn't say it, I would have at the time.
We might touch upon that back in the regular season. But
right, jump into
back
this game.
To it. Again, this game, we get a slide of 5 pictures, and we have opportunities, and we can get through the entire thing if we are that good enough with just the first picture. I don't have the option to go to the next ones until we get something wrong. Okay. That being said, let's start here. Home coach. We are looking at, of course...
Home coach or home team?
Monty. Sorry, home team. Excuse me. Suns. Mavs. Unanimous decision there for that one. Cool. Moving on. Year. Ooh, I wonder what.
This picture gives a lot away.
2022, right?
This is a good one.
That gets given away, but I believe that once we get to it's playoff round 2, bang. Monty, we know that.
Yep.
I'm interested to when we get to the actual player side of things.
Yeah, you got the Mavericks coach?
Is it Carlisle?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're flying through that. Oh,
it was not Carlisle. He was already in Indiana.
Did he get fired today?
I guess he was already in Indiana at this time.
He got fired today. If you think about Jason Kidd, just got fired today after 5 years.
Oh, that's so bad.
Oops.
Oh my. All right. So who's the coach then?
It was Kid.
Oh my. Oh my. I guess that adds up.
2022. If you think about it, he was a coach for 5 years. That's my fault for not even
All right.
looking
Players.
at that, putting two together. Now we go to players.
Okay. Five.
Now this works the same way as a hoop grid. You want to get the rare guys. You won't want to just get Devin Booker.
Okay.
Think about the 2022 Suns.
Oh, you're thinking. Well, I was thinking. You think Suns first. I'll go. I'll go Mavericks.
Okay.
As it just goes dead silent. Well,
I always have one player in my back pocket, and it's between Archie. Oh no, he was in the league.
well, if you look
Ish,
at the,
maybe Ish.
if you look at the picture, I know it's cheating because he's on the court, so he's gonna have a decent high rarity. But I think that's Davis Bertans at the top. Or no, excuse me, he's not there at this point. That might be Kleber.
Nope. I mean that's a 51 percenter. But yeah, and I do believe that it's either him or Kleber. But we can't take it back, so that's a 51%.
Okay. Wow, this game is gonna take a decent amount of time. But if you guess 16 plus, you get all the points. So like when you technically want to just fill
You
this
get a
out.
bang, but you wouldn't get the entire 1,000.
Okay. Okay, I see. I'm really confusing this with the team that went all the way to the finals. That's what's throwing me here because I there's some names that I'm thinking of, but if this is 2022, is Boban still in Dallas?
Okay. That's kind of crazy. That's a 21%. I'm gonna guess Aaron Holiday.
Oh, I was using this guy for the hoop grid earlier. Did Theo Pinson get a minute in this game?
That's crazy. Theo Pinson, no.
Oh, damn.
He was young. Oh, okay, that's not who I wanted. Not Ish. Jalen Smith. No, okay.
Give me. I'm trying to think here. This was a Reggie Bullock team, but he's not even on the court here.
But I'm sure Bullock is definitely up there for a guess.
Well, you got to start firing them away, guy.
Dude, look at the score.
And low-key, like you look at the picture, like they still got Dinwiddie out, they still got Brunson out, like they got a decent amount there.
Oh, come on, man.
Who is 21, bro? That's not Willie Cauley-Stein, and that's what's pissing me
I don't
off.
want to guess McCall because that's gonna be like a bronze or maybe even like whatever the lowest tier is.
Well, was Colin Gillespie on this roster?
For
I don't
Suns?
I don't think he was.
I don't think he was on there yet. Yeah. Let's give it a shot. No, it's definitely early. Too early.
This is a Landry Shamet team?
Better not be. Oh, I hate him.
He's been good for the Knicks this year.
Yes.
Who else was on that team? Campaign?
Yeah, we'll just start filling out the Suns real quick.
Yeah, you had me switch over.
Hammer in, come on.
Uh,
Maybe we do have to get all the players.
Yeah, if it's all, then that's a whole nother story. Because then, yeah, fill in. You could fill in your Brunson. You could fill in your Dinwiddie.
Devin.
Well, and then
Okay.
don't forget.
Yeah, maybe we do have to name. We might have to name every player on the roster. My fault.
Or it's the players who played in the game, mind you.
Yes. Yep.
But who are these
Kleber?
randoms? Yeah. Who else?
Oh
Oh, did you put in Elfrid Payton?
no, it's not. I did not put Peyton for Phoenix.
Yeah.
2021. But he played in that game.
Huge. I can't tell. I don't know what else I can grab. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, Cam Johnson's on the court. I'm just making sure we're not forgetting the
Yeah.
actual starting five. Make sure to type Cameron. So did Willie Cauley-Stein not play in this game?
Nope.
That's nuts.
21. I thought that was Wesley Johnson. It's not. No, yeah, of course not Matthews. Who was number 21?
Can I zoom in? Oh, I can. But it's so fucked up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
I currently, on mine, I have 8 Suns and I have 7 Mavericks.
I got 10 Suns.
Okay.
Aaron Holiday, Ish Wainwright, which I by accidentally entered and ended up getting Ish Wainwright. JaVale McGee, Shamit, Torrey Craig, Cameron Payne, Devin Booker, Alfred Payton, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton.
Torrey Craig, you did not even mention that.
I feel like that was kind of I knew Torrey Craig more from the Suns anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's as far as I got for this.
So we're really lacking on the Dallas side of things. Bro, are we serious? Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, yeah, I said you got to get the
That's
starters
bad.
out. Chris Paul, Mikal, Booker, Ayton, Cam.
We're missing 3 on the Suns side. Sorry, I did not put Nick Mikal in yet. So we're missing 2 on the Suns side.
Jay Crowder was in Phoenix. I don't know when.
Missing 1 on the Suns side. 1 more.
Fuck.
But then it's Dallas.
Yeah, man. I think I'd call it there before we're sitting here for 10 minutes trying to name the 11th guy off the bench.
Yeah, that Suns player's gotta be niche as hell. I'm gonna just give a couple random Dallas guys a guess. DFS.
I've looked at rosters now. I found out who 21 is. 21 is Frank Ntilikina.
Oh,
Let's look at
that's
that.
bad.
Let's
Chris
look at-
Kristaps was on the team, wasn't he?
Yeah, no. I'm looking at the box score now. He did not
Alright,
play.
well,
Trey
we submit.
Burke. Josh Green was in the league at this point. Okay.
715
Dorian
out of 1,000.
Finney-Smith. Okay, yeah, we don't know ball.
I put DFS in. Don't worry.
Bismack Biyombo.
Okay,
JaVale
I'm sorry. I get
McGee.
it. Bismack Biyombo is great for his community.
But great episode today. I love this. Socials, as always, gonna be like that _pod. Still growing. Goal by week. Do you actually have a goal set? Like what would you want to see the Instagram following to be at by week 1 of the NFL season? We're currently, I think, at like 330.
It would be awesome if we could push to 1,000 by then.
That'd be huge. But
Super ambitious.
You're
Super
saying
ambitious, but
yeah, to bring in two-thirds to double our following by like 300%. That'd be cool.
yeah, we don't bite. You know, we're just some guys who have some opinions on sports. Just like, you know, we're not ESPN. That's all.
Just like everybody else. But like that _pod. That's all from me. One more next week. I'll have the same setup, but by episode 34, I will have a brand new place. I'm excited, and I hope the Wi-Fi doesn't suck. But until then, TTYL.
Wow.